Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the December 2nd, 2014 regular meeting of the Piqua City Commission. Would you all see that your cell phones are turned completely off, please? And then join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Mayor Fess.
Here.
Commissioner Martin.
Here.
Commissioner Vogt.
Here.
Commissioner Wilson.
Here.
Commissioner Terry.
Here.
For our first order of business, we'll move to the consent agenda, which includes the approval of the minutes from the November 18th, 2014 regular Piqua City Commission meeting.
I move we approve the consent agenda.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda. All those in favor signify stating aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. The consent agenda has been approved. Moving to old business, ordinance number 15-14. This will be a second reading.
An ordinance amending ordinance number 33-66 relating to the municipal income tax.
Ms. Holtzapfel will provide the staff report tonight.
Thank you. Earlier in November, the citizens of Piqua approved the increase of the municipal income tax from 1.75% to 2% effective January 1st of 2015. The changes to the ordinance reflect that change, and this may stand as the second reading with the request for approval on the December 16th meeting.
Thank you, Cindy. Commissioners, do you have any questions? Anyone in the audience wish to speak for or against this ordinance? Once again, we want to thank the people of the city of Piqua for voting for this ordinance, and that will stand as the second reading. Ordinance number 18-14, also a second reading.
An
16.
ordinance amending ordinance number 8-14 and codified as ordinance number 52.20. Exhibit A, electrical services rates and terms.
Mr. Krieger will provide the staff report.
Thank you. Our longtime rate consultant, Sullivan Associates, were on hand at the last City Commission meeting to review the results of the cost of service study and the recommended rate plan that was actually recommended for approval by the Piqua Energy Board at our September meeting. I'll just, I guess, hit a couple highlights of the presentation that was made. The last cost of service study that we completed was in 2006 through our relationship with American Municipal Power. They recommend that we complete a cost of service study as part of our credit scoring every 5 years, and implement the results of those that cost of service study. And in a nutshell, now is a good time for us to make adjustments to our rates based on the main factor is that as early as 2011, we were buying 97% of our energy from the market. Years ago, we shut down the coal-fired plant that we operated in the city since 1933. It was shut down in 1996. And so we've been on the market, and that was a good place to be as long as the market wasn't volatile and prices were low. But that changed, and as a result of that, American Municipal Power stepped in on behalf of the members, and we started the development of generation assets again. And since that time, we've approved long-term contracts for a number of generating resources. Our Prairie State Energy Campus, which is a clean coal facility, the cleanest in the United States, the Amp Fremont Energy Center, which is a natural gas facility, and then we have power purchase arrangements with a wind farm in Van Wert and Paulding counties, and then finally our hydro projects that will be coming online in 2016. And when that happens, we'll be moving from 97% of our energy purchases being on the market to 21%. So as a result of that, the cost of service study was completed, and the main point of that is to ensure that the residential, commercial, industrial classes and all the customers within that are charged rates that represent the cost to serve those customers. the typical monthly bill impacts to the new rate program are actually very small. The average residential customer is expected to see an increase of 2%, which relates to $1.74 a month increase. Many of our commercial industrial customers, due to their high load factors and how they operate their facilities, will actually see rate reductions, with a portion of our commercial industrial classes seeing increases from 0.5 to 1.5%.
Thank you,
Stand as
Ed.
a second reading if you have questions.
This isn't a question, but would you take a minute and explain what AMP Ohio is, the difference between we're belonging to AMP Ohio and, say, Dayton Power and Light, or one of the other providers that, because I really understand what AMP is and what it does for
Right.
us.
That's very confusing. You know, there are actually three different kind of electric utility providers out there. You have the cooperatives like Pioneer that serve the rural areas. You have the big investor-owns like Dayton Power and Light that serve the majority of the state of Ohio. And then you have, in Ohio, there's 86 municipal and villages that are served by their own electric systems, and the city of Piqua is one of those. And, you know, years ago, like we did here, we were able to build our own facilities to serve our needs. But as the cost of building those plants became more expensive and the environmental controls associated with those, again, became more expensive, you had to have economies of scale to be competitive. So the majority of those 86 members in Ohio, and actually AMP they're no longer AMP Ohio, they're now American Municipal Power, because they've grown to 6 states, 132 members. And through our relationship with American Municipal Power, we can build large assets that have economies of scale, and then we can buy into portions of those projects. So, for example, Prairie State's a 1,600 megawatt plant, but we own 20 megawatts, so we own a portion of that. So we get the benefits of ownership, but we don't have to build a large plant, and because we just don't have the customer base for it. But you know, the bottom line is it was a good deal for the city to enter into the power business in 1933, and it's still a good deal for our city of Piqua customers because our rates are very competitive. And with this move, we'll have stable and really cost-based rates for quite some time.
So most of those members that are now members of AMP Ohio or American Public Power, whatever it's now, they once generated their own power like we did?
Actually, a lot of those did. West Milton, for example, used to be a municipal electric system. They had a small hydro facility. Troy had a hydro facility. You know, a lot of them used to generate using oil and coal. And over a period of time, like the city of Troy was purchased by Dayton Power and Light. So, you know, a number of the municipals were bought out by the large investor-owns. But, you know, the folks in Piqua made a good decision. We decided to keep our electric system.
Well, we would have had the infrastructure in place to deliver it, right?
Right. We've really got a very extensive electrical infrastructure. So, you know, we've evolved through a number of variations in terms of how we serve our customers. And really this is, as I said in the last meeting, it's really controlling our own destiny. You know, we're back into ownership again. It's really exciting times. You know, we've implemented these rates, and our rates are still very competitive with the investor-owns. Our rates are some of the lowest rates in the state of Ohio.
I thought I heard that last meeting where they said we were like 11 cents a kilowatt.
I think Don compared it to his cooperative rate that he had, you know, and many of those rates are 13, 14, 15 cents a kilowatt hour for a residential customer, and our residential rates are just above 10 cents. So
Okay.
we have very competitive rates, and with how we're able to staff our system, you know, we have very reliable service. We have customer service for our customers. When they call, someone answers, and they're there in a very short amount of time to fix the problem.
Well, and we have a very, very few blackouts served where our power's out for any length of time, because I think you have backup down there, don't you?
We actually have our 2 gas turbines that we can use in case we need to. But typically the reliability on the grid is very high. The only time we've seen in our history where we lost all the feeds from the outside was, you know, back when we had the Dayreco windstorm a few years ago. But we've got a very reliable system. We track all those things. Our average outage is typically 30 to 40 minutes, which is really unheard of in the industry.
Some of the neighboring communities are out sometimes 2 and 3 days, so
Yes.
you know that.
It's not unusual that we'll go help other communities with mutual aid after we fix the problems that we have. So
I just wanted to try to clarify that a little bit because I think a lot of people don't understand how fortunate we are to be able to have our own delivery of power and to be able to get those less expensive rates, and which does help us a lot.
it's quite an asset. And you're right, it is confusing. A lot of people don't understand it.
So, in other words, we're separate from any big, we're owned by the municipalities, so consequently we don't have a board. I mean, they have a board, but nothing where they're doing a for-profit board.
Right, our customers own the system, basically. We're governed by the Piqua City Commission, and we have our Piqua Energy Board that's made up of residential, commercial, industrial, respected folks in that we spend a lot of time making decisions on what's best for our customers, and typically they're recommended, and this is just an example of that, where they've recommended that this rate plan be adopted, and our customers are all billed competitive rates that are based on what it costs to serve each of those customers.
Well, Ed, thank you for that information. I think it's helpful to people to every once in a while remind them of how that works. So, commissioners, any other questions for Ed? Anyone in the audience wish to speak for or against this ordinance? If not, this will stand as the second reading of ordinance number 16-14. And we'll move to ordinance number 17-14.
An ordinance to make appropriations for the city of Piqua, Ohio for the year 2015.
Ms. Holtzapfel.
Thank you. As we do each year at this time, we're presenting for your consideration the 2015 budget appropriation. According to our charter, passage of this is required by year end. This is currently the second of 3 readings before the commission, and the commission has reviewed with the departments extensively this budget appropriation on 2 occasions in November.
Thank you, Cindy. Any questions for Cindy? Well, again, we want to thank you and your department, Cindy, for a great job. It's really difficult these days to work with that budget, and seeing as how we've lost so much of our state money and such, and I understand that House Bill 5 is going to go up for a vote here soon, right, Gary?
We expect to vote this week from the Senate Ways and Means Committee, yes.
And that could change our budget very dramatically should they not change some of the.
Well, we're hoping we understand there's been over 100 amendments added to the bill. We don't know what those are yet or what they've decided upon, but there could possibly be some other hearings, testimony this week, and if it is approved in whatever form it is, it would go back to the House then for House approval, Senate and then House approval.
It's still a little ways out.
Still some votes out there, yes.
Well, good. Just want to remind people, if you have an opportunity to see one of your elected officials other than us, because we already all know, but senator or representative, remind them that House Bill 5 could be very devastating to the municipalities in Ohio. Anyone in the audience wish to speak for or against this ordinance? If not, this will stand as the second reading of ordinance 17-14. Ordinance number 18-14.
An ordinance repealing Schedule A of Chapter 33 of the Piqua Code and adopting a new Schedule A of Chapter 33 of the Piqua Code relating to wages of certain municipal employees.
Well, unfortunately, Ms. Barton is sick today, but I'll fill in for her on these items that she has. But over the past year, during last year actually, we undertook the pay and classification study. Generally, you try to do those every 5 years. It has been a number of years since one of these studies was done, but it helps us to realign positions and make sure that the job worth is accurately calculated. So the positions that you see on Schedule A of this are the ones we're recommending to you. So be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Commissioners, any questions? Anyone in the audience, any questions on this ordinance? If not, that will stand as the second reading of ordinance number 18-14. Ordinance number 19-14.
An ordinance repealing Schedule A1 of Chapter 33 of the Piqua Code and adopting a new Schedule A1 of Chapter 33 of the Piqua Code relating to wages of certain municipal employees.
This refers to our hourly employees, and this change is required because the state of Ohio is increasing the minimum wage effective January the 1st from $7.95 per hour to $8.10 per hour.
And this ordinance will just keep us in
Meet the
alliance
law
to meet
requirement,
that requirement. Mhm. All right. Commissioners? Anyone in the audience wish to speak for or against the ordinance? If not, this will stand as the second reading of ordinance number 19-14. Ordinance number 20-14.
An ordinance repealing existing Chapter 33 and enacting a new Chapter 33 of the Piqua Code relating to employee policy.
Well, this ordinance changes Chapter 33, revising the date of the health insurance coverage to reflect the current benefit year, as well as the reduction to the city's contribution to the employee's health savings or health reimbursement account, and increasing the amount of an employee can earn by participating in the wellness activities. The wellness activities are important part of what we're doing now because it has enabled us to receive would have been the last 2 years, 0 increases in our health insurance rates. And that program has proved to be very effective. And by getting more employees involved, that's more savings, not only for the city, but for the employees. So we recommend your approval on this ordinance.
Commissioners? Anyone in the audience? This will stand as the second reading of ordinance number 20-14. Moving to new business, we go to resolution number R-125-14.
A resolution of appreciation for the public service of Cecilia Stoller as a city employee.
Cecilia isn't with us this evening, but I do have a resolution that I would like to read, and it reads resolution number R-125-14, a resolution of appreciation for the public service of Cecilia Stoller as a city employee. Whereas Cecilia Stoller has retired as Health Department Secretary with the Health and Sanitation Department, and whereas her retirement follows 30 years of faithful and dedicated service to the city and its citizens, now therefore be it resolved by the Commission of the City of Piqua, Miami County, Ohio, all members elected thereunto, concurring that Section 1, in recognition and appreciation of the public service of Cecilia Stoller as Health Department Secretary with the Health and Sanitation Department, this Commission tenders its unanimous and respectful tribute by this resolution, which shall be a matter of public and permanent record. Section 2, this resolution shall take effect and be enforced from and after the earliest period allowed by law. And it's signed with my signature and the seal of the City of Piqua. And we want to take an opportunity to also comment to Cecilia that we have appreciated her work, and she's been a great employee, and I just want to wish her the best on her retirement. So do I have a motion, Commissioners, or does anyone wish to speak to this?
I move to adopt Resolution R-125-14.
Second?
Is there anyone in the audience that wishes to speak to the resolution?
Yeah, I think Cecilia was always so good with the public, always upbeat, and even if somebody's very professional and nice and really represented the city very well.
Thank you, Commissioner. Yes, I believe that's quite true. So I have a motion and a second to adopt resolution number R-125-14. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Commissioner Vogt,
Aye.
Commissioner Wilson,
Aye.
Commissioner Terry,
Aye.
Commissioner Martin,
Aye.
Mayor Fess.
Aye. Resolution number R-125-14 has been adopted. Resolution number R-126-14.
A resolution authorizing a purchase order to the Miami Valley Risk Management Association for purchase of insurance.
I'll ask Ms. Wall to provide the staff report.
Thank you. This is our annual renewal of our membership with Miami Valley Risk Management Association. This is our property and liability insurance. This year for 2015, the premium will be $348,236. That is a pretty significant decrease from the premium in 2014. And that premium is calculated on a basis of our last 5 years of our claims. As the time rolls on, the year drops off, so we are lowering our amount based upon claims. As mentioned, we have those turbines, and that was a significant claim. So as the years continue to drop off, that claim will drop off, and our premium should decrease based upon our claim history. Maverma continues to provide extremely wonderful services. Part of those services as there are 20 members in Maverma. As we close out a claim year, no more claims from any city, no more potential claims based on statute of limitations. That year is closed, and the cities are refunded part of their premium that was left in that remaining year. So it's really an investment. It does not act as an insurance company where you never see your premium back. It is an investment where we have that protected in our by all 20 cities representing on the Maverma board and making those decisions. So it's recommended that you renew for 2015.
Thank you, Stacy. Commissioners, do you have any questions of Ms. Wall? Audience?
I move to adopt Resolution R-126-14.
Second.
Moved and seconded to adopt resolution number R-126-14. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Commissioner Wilson,
Aye.
Commissioner Terry,
Aye.
Commissioner Martin,
Aye.
Mayor Fess,
Aye.
Commissioner Vogt.
Aye.
Resolution number R-126-14 has been adopted. Resolution number R-127-14.
A resolution requesting authorization to increase the purchase order to CDM Smith for additional design services incurred during the design phase of the new water treatment plant.
Mr. Freisteller will provide the staff report.
Yes, good evening. We started the water treatment plant design back in November of 2012. And as the project did proceed, there was a number of things that came up that fell outside of the original scope that we had laid out with the CDM Smith group. A few of the things that I mentioned in the staff report, as we did the surveying along State Route 66, we come to realize that there is a section of the main water lines coming to the city that are totally exposed and needed to be relocated to the other side of the road so they can be placed back in the ground. These type of things were best addressed during the time when we had the companies coming in town to do the other part of the project for the off-site piping, and so was incorporated into the new plant project. We also needed to find out where the best place to run our sanitary sewer, and as we looked into what was available to us, it came out to be the most cost-effective thing was to put an on-site septic system in, which was not foreseen in the project as well, and so the design for that needed to be done also. Proceeding in with the equipment that we were looking at, we looked at two different types of the recarbonation systems for neutralizing our pH in our water. One group that we were working with, when they became a sole source, decided that the price needed to be increased. So we reviewed a different style recarbonation system and were able to save some $600,000 just on the one piece of equipment. As you looked at the Amendment 1 that we have as part of the package this evening, there were some 13 different items that we worked on throughout that part of the project in the last 2 years that actually were outside of the scope that we had originally done with CDM. So of that, some $235,000 of the cost we're asking for this evening was for those things that we addressed as we were going through the last couple of years and extended the design as we move forward. The last portion of that monies that we're requesting this evening is for the conform prints. And with me this evening is Mr. Bob Yoxheimer with CDM Smith. And I'd ask Bob if he would come forward and help explain the conform prints and assist me with any questions that commission might have.
Thank you, Don. Welcome, Bob.
Bob Yoxheimer with CDM Smith. Anybody have any questions about any of what Don discussed? The conform documents, I think, is kind of where he left off, and I could just add to that if you'd like.
That'd be fine.
During the course of the bidding process, we had a number of questions from contractors bidding the project, both the plant and the pipelines, which ensued in some addendums to the bidding documents. So there's a lot of paperwork generated doing that. So what we want to do before we actually award the project to the contractors and just to basically manage the construction is to take all that supplemental data that clarified the drawings and the specifications and bring that together and make one set of original documents so it's all in one place. Because oftentimes you have one addendum changing one thing and then maybe another addendum later or two might come back and change that addended item. So we want to make sure everything is concise and easily followed during construction. It just makes the construction process much smoother and less confusing.
Sounds very reasonable.
Well, I think the experiences we have, the more documents that you have out there, the more chances there are for errors to occur.
Right.
And I think this is putting everything into one document and having everything together helps ensure that there's no mistakes made along the way.
If there are any other changes made along the line, I mean, will it be included in this conformed document, or do you have to amend something else?
No, the conform no, there will be no other changes. The potential is out there that EPA may come back and require the city to do something because we made a final submittal to EPA after they reviewed the drawings about the same time the project went out to bid. So there could have been a potential for EPA to come back and approve it with some contingencies in there that may have caused some additional changes and costs to the city, but it was not the case. EPA basically granted approval to the project without any, implications of that. So what the contractors bid is what the cost is based on. That's not to say as a project moves forward, on a project of this magnitude, there's bound to be some change orders with some additional work and possibly some deduct items to reduce some of the work. And that's part of what we would do during the process of doing the construction management is keeping track of that. But no, the conform documents have nothing to do with what's before us. It just kind of tidies everything up to where we're at right now that occurred during the bidding process. Because we had, on the plant project, we had 8 addenda that were sent out. And on the pipeline project, I believe 6. So it's taking all those little bits and pieces that changed along the way and workable documents.
This is a multi-year project, so
Yeah, 30 months.
the EPA could change something too.
It's not likely.
We hope not.
It's not likely. I think they've had their say, and unless they develop some new regulation that the city have to comply with.
Let's hope not.
For the septic system, are we going to build basically a treatment plant, a small treatment plant out there, or just a standard country septic system?
Well, it's neither, actually. Typically, your country systems will have a septic tank and a leach field, okay? This is kind of like that. It has a septic tank, but the clear liquid out of that, instead of going to a leach field, we've got a drip irrigation system on site out there. So there will be no discharge off-site into a stream. It's all maintained on site with very small pipes and stuff that basically lets the treated effluent from the septic system leach into the ground. And we designed that in accordance with EPA. That actually, the approval of that part of the project required a separate permit. permit to install, and EPA granted that within just a few weeks of submitting it. And the other option that Don referred to was trying to take the sanitary waste into the city system. The problem with that was the upper end of your system doesn't have capacity to take that flow on. And we would have had to gone pretty far into the city, and then the costs started getting very out of control with long, force mains, which is what it would have taken. So that's why we end up with an on-site system.
Okay.
Again,
With this septic system, let's say I live near there, would there be any ability for someone living nearby to know that we had a septic as far as odors or any other indication that could affect any neighbors?
No, there should not be anything running off. In fact, all of the treated effluent is actually dripped into the ground. It doesn't even come to the surface.
Okay.
So the site had to be approved, the type of soil that it was put in, and so that it could absorb the liquid, fast enough.
But as far as no odors or anything like that?
No. In fact, the other thing EPA asked us to do was to make sure we had a reserve site adjacent to what we're putting in, so that if someday in the future, years from now, if that site would ever become unusable, there's another site that could be developed to handle the effluent.
So a neighbor will have no ability to know that it was there beyond knowing that it's there?
I mean, I believe your neighbors have on-site treatment systems. I don't know what they've got. They probably have septic tanks and leach beds, I'm guessing.
Okay.
They could have a private aeration system, but I don't know that.
Well, we've had some neighbors out there who are concerned with the whole plan, and
Right.
I just wanted to be sure that we're not creating anything that would affect
Right.
them in a negative way. We're not.
I think you'll be happy with
Okay.
this system, yeah.
If I might interject, Mr. Wilson, when we last met with the neighbors, they were made aware of this system going in, and they had no issues at that time.
We're good. Yeah, that's good because they've always been worried about everything, and I think, this is, we want to be the best neighbor we can be, so.
Well, I think just in the whole project, I know the city staff has been very attuned to making sure that the city was a good neighbor
yeah,
there.
I think the city has done everything they can to reassure the people that it's going to be a good neighbor
Yes.
and not going to be a problem for them. Once again, could you just give us a time frame of when we're going to break ground and when you think you're going to be up and running, Don?
Yes. The first meeting to Peterson and the actual contract should be awarded in the first meetings in January. And Mr. Kanapke from Peterson said maybe some start as early as February, but most likely groundbreaking will be the first part of March.
Okay.
And then we have about a 30-month time period to build the treatment plant itself and a 20-month time element for the off-site piping project. So by 17, we should be up and running.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Bob. We appreciate it. Any other questions? Mr. Oksana?
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else in the audience wish to speak to this resolution? If not, do I have a motion, please?
Move to adopt Resolution R-127-14.
Second?
Thank you. We have a motion and a second to adopt Resolution R-127-14. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Commissioner Terry,
Aye.
Commissioner Martin,
Aye.
Mayor Fess,
Aye.
Commissioner Vogt,
Aye.
Commissioner Wilson.
Aye.
Resolution number R-127-14 has been adopted. That brings us to the end of our regular agenda. We'll now open the floor for public comment. If there's anyone here who would like to approach the commission, please do so by coming to the podium in the middle of the room, stating your name and address. I see no one moving in that direction, so we'll go to the city manager's report.
Thank you very much. Just wanted to mention a few items tonight. Our city employee give committee is collecting food items for the backpack program through December 15th. So if anyone would like to contribute to that, This food does go to high school students who may not have food on the weekends, and that's the whole purpose of this program. So we periodically give to that program, and it's very beneficial.
It's kind of the high school version of the lunch bunch, what they do for the elementary schools.
Right. It's, one of the churches does that. Churches do that, and we do the high school program. So employees are also participating in the Salvation Army's Adopt a Family program, and also Mark's Bike Drive program. Even I think some of the commissioners have participated in that. But those are all great programs that they have contributed to and giving back to the community. Along those same lines, the city will have a float in the downtown holiday parade on Saturday, which starts at 2 o'clock. So if you'd like to walk in the parade, you're certainly, would invite all employees, and I think we're going to have a pretty big turnout of that this year. Main Street, of course, again, we'll have Christmas on the Green this Friday night from 6 to 9 p.m., and we're looking for good weather for that. Additional events this week include the Holly Jolly 5K, 10K on Saturday morning, and Christmas on the Farm at Johnston Farm this coming Saturday. And I believe everyone has received in your mailbox an invitation from the Piqua School District for the dedication celebration for the two new primary schools. Spring Creek is, I think that's Sunday at 1:30, and Washington at 3:30. So I unfortunately have to be out of town this weekend, but I think we'll have good representation there, and I know they're anxious to get into those new schools. So that concludes my report. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Those schools are amazing looking. When you go by them, you just think, oh my gosh, how fortunate we are to have schools like that. It's going to be amazing when the children can get in there and just see them function. Thank you, Gary. Any questions of Gary, commissioners? If not, we'll go to the commissioners, and we'll start with Commissioner Vogt tonight.
Well, I would like to congratulate Cecilia on her retirement. She spent 30 years. She's been a very congenial employee to the citizens here, and I can remember Cecilia when I was on the police department. She was just a little girl. Now she's retired, so makes me feel old. And congratulations, Cecilia. You earned your retirement. And I'd like to see everybody at the parade and Christmas on the Green. And that's all I have.
Thank you. Commissioner Martin.
Basically, I'll echo Bill's statements, and I'm good.
Okay, thank you, John.
Remember Cecilia when she was just a little kid around the corner. I can't believe she's served for 30 years already. So that makes me feel old also, Bill. But we congratulate her for a job well done.
And her dad was police chief.
Yes, she was one of the little Huffman kids.
Yep, that's right. Commissioner Wilson?
It is December. It means Christmas is coming. And I know there are a lot of activities like presents, cards, baking things, shopping, whatever. But I think before that day comes, I'd like to challenge everyone to consider doing something for another person that maybe is a little less fortunate than they are. There's a nice article in the paper a few days ago about 12 entities, I guess, that were serving the needs of people who need a lot of different things. And the best thing about these groups is you don't have to necessarily give them money, although they will accept any money that you're willing to give them. But if you don't have money to give to someone else, you could certainly give your time and volunteer in any number of ways depending on your interest. The Piqua Compassion Network is always looking for volunteers there. The Bethany Center, they've got a cold shelter for when it's below freezing, and they need 2 people every night when it is cold enough, and they need a man and a woman, and to do that. And sometimes if they don't have enough people, they can't have that shelter for the homeless people, so it's kind of a bad deal when they can't operate the shelter. The Rural Services, the Han Huffman Center of Hope, and of course we all know the Salvation Army. They have the kettles all around town, and they are collecting toys and clothing for a lot of people in town. So just think about what you do have, and certainly everyone has more than maybe someone else in town. So consider doing something, even if you don't know the person, or maybe help a neighbor who needs maybe a sidewalk shoveled or something. So get beyond the presents and the shopping, and see if you can do something. So that's all I have.
Thank you. Commissioner Wilson, I'm going to put you on the spot. You were sharing with the city manager and I before the meeting began about, there's a program out there called Pay It Forward,
Yes.
and you were out the other day with your wife. Will you tell the people what happened and just ask, I would ask everybody to think about this and participate in it.
Yeah, we were out for lunch, and I went to pay my bill with the waitress, and she said, your bill is already paid. And I said, well, how does that happen? Because normally I pay for my bills. So she said that someone paid already my bill for me, and I looked around. I didn't know anyone in the restaurant, and she handed me a card. And the card was a national group, was it Pay It Forward? Is that what it is?
Forward, something like
Or
that. yeah.
Random Act of Kindness.
Random Act of
I think
Kindness.
it's Random Act of Kindness. And someone, as they paid the bill, gave the waitress this card, and they gave it to me, and they said that my meal was free, but I was kind of obligated now to do something for someone else. And then when I did that, I should give them that card and keep it as an anonymous act. So I have since read about that a little more, since I'm more in tune to it, and I thought it was a really nice gesture on whoever did it to me, and I have no idea who it was, probably never will. So, of course, I'm obligated now to do something for someone else, which I have done already. And the idea is that as you do something for someone else, they will continue it forward. And even if it's a small gesture, it doesn't have to be anything very, very large. But in this season, I think it was perfect timing, and it really makes you think about things beyond the lights and the glitter of Christmas. So
I just thought that was real heartwarming, and
Yeah.
I wanted you to share that with people so they would know that there are people out there who would certainly appreciate, and sometimes it's people who really can use that hand up.
that's right.
When somebody pays their bill, and they might be able to use that for something else. So thanks for sharing that with us, Joe. As Commissioner Vogt mentioned, the parade is on Saturday, and I think the city manager mentioned that. We hope everybody's going to come down. We don't mind a few snowflakes, but let's have it at 50 degrees. But I don't think that's going to happen.
40s, but that's
40s. Well, I'm sure we'll have a great time. Santa Claus is going to be down there at the library. Bring the children down, and on Friday evening, of course, Christmas on the Green with the activities for the children, the sleigh rides, the costumed characters that are down there, roasting marshmallows on the corners. We just want everybody to come out and fellowship with your community members during this holiday season. So we'll look for you there and hope you're able to make it. I also want to once more thank Cecilia for her 30 years of service to this city. That's kind of been a thing with their family. They've been always very supportive, the Huffman family of the city, and have done a lot for the city of Piqua. So we do appreciate the family and Cecilia's efforts. With that, I think that we have covered just about everything that we have to cover tonight. I hope everybody doesn't get too stressed out trying to get ready for Christmas with all the shopping and wrapping and everything there is to do. And as Commissioner Wilson said, take time to do something nice for someone, because I know that they will appreciate it, and it just makes our town the friendly place that it is. So thank you very much, and with the motion, we'll adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor state aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?